Hey guys, this is Christian with REC Electric out of Hudson, Wisconsin. I appreciate your feedback on the last video. I'm pretty new to making videos. Not really used to sitting in front of a camera or talking in front of one, but I just wanted to make another video just to get some information out there. You'll see on my fancy cardboard, I've got some stuff written on there. I've got just a work light shining on it. You guys are on my iPhone, you're sitting on a 6-foot ladder, so budget video for sure, but I'm just making do with what I got. But anyway, today's video I wanted to make on the different applications of what we as tradesmen typically do work in. I've had people ask me, do you do residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, what do you do? There can be a lot of gray area between them, and I just want to kind of unmuddy the water as to what each one is as far as electrical goes. And again, there's never any like specific rules, but I just kind of want to give you guys some guidelines in case anyone's wondering. So we're going to go over to my fancy whiteboard here. We've got residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural. I'm going to start with residential. Residential, as most of us know, typically houses. Single-family homes, multi-family homes, apartment complexes. Typically, it's anything that's wood-framed or anything where people live. 9 times out of 10, for argument's sake, wood framing and where people live, typically houses, is residential as far as I'm concerned. So we do a lot of non-metallic wiring, Romex as we like to call it, cable, non-metallic boxes. Kind of get the gist of that, I'm sure. And I want to jump to commercial. Commercial, there's a sizable gap between residential and commercial. Commercial would happen to be, in my opinion, commercial would be stores, retail, office buildings, shopping malls, hospitals can be commercial. It's like kind of like the intermediate section between residential and industrial. But there is a sizable gap between resi and commercial, in my opinion. A lot of times the infrastructure is beefed up a little bit. We're looking at steel beams, steel studs. We as electricians have to beef up our electrical installation to be able to withstand that. So we run a lot of MC cable. I'm sure you guys have seen it, the steel wound cable. It's kind of like Romex, but it has steel around the outside. We're looking at a lot of metal boxes. We're looking at electrical metallic tubing, kind of like this. If you guys ever see guys on job sites, bending tubing by hand, that's what EMT is. And it's, I would say, the bulk of what most intermediate sized contractors do, electrical contractors. But typically I get people asking, do you do resi or commercial? Which is a fair question. But I want to talk about the gap between commercial and industrial, which doesn't always get talked about. People like to lump these two together, which is understandable. I just kind of want to go over some of the differences between commercial and industrial as long as we're at it. So commercial, we're talking about a lot of places where business is happening, offices, retail stores, stuff like that. When we get into industrial, I'm thinking of manufacturing plants, fabrication facilities, food processing plants, refineries, stuff where industry is taking place. And that's when our electrical installation gets beefed up even more. So we're looking at rigid threaded conduit, fittings, threaded boxes sometimes. We're looking at different kinds of rigid pipe. We can have regular steel rigid pipe threaded. We can have stainless, which I've ran a little bit of. We have PVC coated steel rigid conduit. We know it as Rob Roy. There's always PVC pipe in certain applications. We're doing a lot of work with motors, a lot of work with process control, stuff like that. It gets a lot more involved. And this is where a lot of the bigger contractors like to do their work. And I did a lot of that stuff when I was working for a bigger contractor, and I do really like it. That's probably one of my favorite things is the industrial side, but I digress. So there is a sizable gap between all three of these, but people typically forget about the gap between industrial and commercial. So I just kind of want to clear that up a little bit. Moving on, I'm just going to go to agricultural. Most of us are from the Midwest. We know agricultural is farms. It's typically the only thing I would classify it as. Dairy, beef, crop farms, depending on the situation or setting. For the most part, what I've seen in agricultural, a lot of older farms are still running non-metallic Romex, just like residential. I've ran into that in older and newer farms, depending on the setting. Very common practice. A lot of PVC pipe. When I was on a larger dairy project, we ran a lot of PVC pipe just because of the wet location, cow manure, protection of the wires, a lot of reasons. And for a lot of reasons, in my opinion, agricultural, the bigger ones, agricultural does go hand in hand with industrial. We're dealing with a lot of motors in both of them, a lot of motor work, a lot of variable frequency drives, stuff like that, a lot of process control. So they can go hand in hand. And it's the same for all of it. There's no set in stone boundary. I just want to give you guys an overview. So I'm just going to recap it. Residential, you can think houses, apartment buildings, etc. Commercial, offices, hospitals, places where business takes place for the most part. Some apartment buildings could be considered commercial if you want, but not trying to muddy the waters. Get into industrial, where industry happens, manufacturing plants, refineries, stuff like that. And I don't want to lump it in with agricultural, but agricultural can often be an industrial setting, but agricultural, typically farms, dairy, cattle, beef, or dairy, beef, cattle, and crops. But I'm trying not to muddy the water too much. I'm just trying to put some information out there. And if you guys have anything you want to bring to my attention or get a hold of me, it's REC Electric. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, just REC Electric. I'm just really trying to give the people some information, like as much as I can. That's all I'm doing it for. If I can do better on anything, which I know I have a lot of room to improve, I'm just trying to get some information out with the resources that I have. So if you guys want to get a hold of me, feel free. But yeah, I look forward to hearing from you guys. So thanks again for watching.